The sky darkened with an unnatural metallic sheen as massive alien ships emerged from hyperspace, casting enormous shadows across Earth's major defense installations. Major Kim Hyun-ki stood motionless in the underground command center, his weathered hands gripping the tactical display screen as silent alarms began to pulse with urgent red warnings. No one expected the invasion to happen so quickly. Military strategists had long discussed potential extraterrestrial threats, but nothing could have prepared them for the sheer speed and precision of the alien assault. The first wave of attack came not with explosive weapons, but with sophisticated, electromagnetic pulses that systematically disabled communication networks and defense systems across multiple continents. Kim watched as entire military bases disappeared from the digital map. Green markers representing human military units rapidly transformed into red X symbols, indicating total destruction. Within moments, major cities lost power, transportation systems collapsed, and global communication networks went dark. The aliens' technology was unlike anything human engineers had ever encountered. Their ships moved with impossible fluidity, cutting through Earth's atmosphere like liquid metal, releasing pulse weapons that neutralized electronic systems instantly. Military jets attempting interception were swatted away like insignificant insects, their advanced fighter systems completely overwhelmed by superior alien technology. In the first few hours, the invasion covered more ground than any previous military conflict in human history. Satellite images showed massive landing craft descending in strategic locations, near nuclear facilities, major population centers, and critical infrastructure points. They weren't just attacking. They were systematically dismantling humanity's capability to resist. Major Kim understood something that many of his colleagues hadn't yet realized. This wasn't a traditional invasion designed to conquer territory. The aliens were executing a precise, calculated operation aimed at completely neutralizing human potential for resistance. Each strike was calculated, each movement deliberate, revealing an intelligence far beyond human comprehension. Military bases across different continents reported similar scenarios. Defensive systems that had cost billions of dollars became useless within seconds of alien engagement. Tanks, missiles, and advanced weapon systems were rendered completely ineffective against technology that seemed to anticipate and neutralize every human strategy. From the command center, Kim could see panic spreading through military communication channels. Soldiers trained for decades were now facing an enemy that operated on completely different technological and strategic principles. Traditional warfare concepts meant nothing against these invaders. The aliens' ships didn't just destroy. They systematically disabled and controlled energy weapons that didn't just kill, but completely disintegrated matter at a molecular level. Their precision was terrifying. They could target specific electronic systems, infrastructure points, and military installations with surgical accuracy. Hours passed. Global military leadership struggled to mount any meaningful resistance. Each attempt to counterattack was swiftly and brutally neutralized. The invaders moved with a cold, calculated efficiency that suggested they had been studying human civilization for decades, perhaps centuries. Kim watched as global communication networks collapsed. Major cities went dark. Transportation systems ground to a complete halt. The invasion wasn't just about military conquest. It was about total systemic collapse. What made the situation more chilling was the apparent lack of communication from the invaders. No demands, no announcements, no typical conquest protocols. They simply arrived, began their systematic destruction, and continued their operation with machine-like precision. Military analysts later would describe this as the most efficient invasion in recorded history. No prolonged battles, no extended conflict zones, just swift, calculated destruction of human technological infrastructure. Major Kim Hyun-ki realized something fundamental in those first critical hours. Humanity's survival would depend not on traditional military might, but on adaptability, innovation, and a completely new approach to understanding and countering this technological threat. As the first day of invasion concluded, less than 30% of global military defense systems remained operational. Cities were in darkness, communication was minimal, and humanity found itself on the brink of potential extinction. The invasion had begun, and nothing would ever be the same again. The clock struck midnight, marking the end of the first day, a day that would be remembered as the moment human civilization faced its most significant challenge in recorded history. In the ruins of a former research facility, Major Kim Hyun-ki assembled his last hope for human survival. Scattered around the underground bunker were brilliant minds who had survived the initial alien invasion, engineers, computer specialists, and tactical experts who refused to surrender. Park Jae-sung, a compact man with intense eyes, spread out holographic maps showing the alien technological signatures. Their weapons weren't just advanced. They operated on principles completely foreign to human understanding. Energy systems that could instantaneously neutralize electronic networks, shields that seemed to bend physics itself. The team worked in shifts that blended into endless hours. Kang Yoon-ji, a software specialist with hands that moved like lightning across quantum computing interfaces, began developing adaptive algorithms. Her goal was simple yet impossible: create a system that could predict and counter alien technological responses. Outside the bunker, the world remained in chaos. Cities stood silent, infrastructure destroyed, and hope was rapidly diminishing. But inside this underground facility, human innovation was brewing. Lee Min-ho, a metallurgy expert, worked on developing new tank armor compositions. Traditional metals became useless against alien pulse weapons. He experimented with molecular structures that could absorb and redirect energy, creating materials that could potentially survive alien attacks. Major Kim understood that conventional military thinking would lead to extinction. They needed something radical. The team wasn't just developing weapons. They were reimagining the entire concept of technological warfare. Quantum computing became their primary weapon. Traditional computer systems were like stone tools compared to the alien technology. Yoon-ji developed neural network algorithms that could learn and adapt in milliseconds, creating predictive models of alien weapon systems. Days turned into a blur of constant experimentation. Failed prototype after failed prototype littered the research facility. Each failure brought them closer to a potential breakthrough. The team knew humanity's survival depended on their ability to innovate faster than the aliens could destroy. Park Jae-sung's breakthrough came unexpectedly. By analyzing captured alien communication frequencies, he discovered subtle pattern interruptions in their energy transmission systems. These microscopic vulnerabilities could potentially be exploited. The first successful prototype was nothing like a traditional tank. It looked more like a hybrid between a mobile computer and a military vehicle. Adaptive metal skin that could change molecular structure instantaneously. Quantum processors that could calculate defensive strategies faster than human reflexes. And energy redirection systems that could potentially neutralize alien weapons. Major Kim watched as the prototype underwent initial testing. The tank moved differently, almost like a living organism. Its ability to adapt was unprecedented. When test energy pulses were fired, the vehicle didn't just defend. It learned and prepared counter strategies in real time. Yoon-ji's software was the brain. Min-ho's metallurgy was the body, and Jae-sung's communication research was the nervous system. Together they had created something that wasn't just a weapon, but a potential game-changer in the war against the aliens. The team nicknamed the prototype Adaptive Response Unit, or ARU. It represented humanity's first genuine technological response to the alien invasion. No longer were humans simply defending. They were beginning to fight back with intelligence and innovation. Military leadership, what remained of it, watched the prototype's tests with a mixture of hope and skepticism. Years of traditional military thinking made it difficult to accept that their salvation might come from something so radically different from conventional weaponry. Major Kim understood the psychological importance of this moment. It wasn't just about creating a weapon. It was about restoring human confidence, showing that despite the devastating initial invasion, humanity could adapt, learn, and fight back. The first batch of ARU tanks would be limited. Resources were scarce and production would be challenging. But each unit represented hope. Each unit was a statement that humans would not be easily conquered. As the prototype completed its final test sequence, something changed in the bunker. The exhausted researchers began to smile. For the first time since the invasion, they felt they weren't just surviving, they were fighting back. The technological adaptation had begun. And the aliens were about to discover that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't its technology, but its unbreakable spirit of innovation and survival. The vast plains of North America became the unexpected battlefield where humanity would make its stand. Major Kim Hyun-ki positioned the first squadron of adaptive response units, their metallic surfaces shifting like liquid beneath the early morning light. 12 tanks, each a technological marvel that represented humanity's last hope. Communication. Systems crackled with nervous energy. Military commanders watched through satellite feeds, their breath held in collective anticipation. The alien forces had grown complacent, believing human resistance was futile. They were about to learn a different lesson. The alien mechanized units approached with their characteristic precision. Massive metallic constructs that had previously decimated entire military installations now moved towards what seemed like an insignificant human defensive line. Their energy weapons hummed with destructive potential, a sound that had previously meant certain annihilation. Kim's voice remained calm over the communication channel. Adaptive units prepare secondary quantum protocols. Target identification mode activated. Each tank's surface began to shimmer, molecular structures realigning in ways that defied traditional understanding of materials and physics. The first, alien pulse weapon fired, a massive energy discharge that had previously obliterated entire military formations. But something different happened this time. The ARU tanks didn't just absorb the energy, they redirected it. Like a living organism, they analyzed the weapon's frequency, adapted, and transformed the incoming destruction into a defensive mechanism. Jae-sung, monitoring from the command center, watched in amazement as the tank's quantum processors worked faster than any human brain could comprehend. Each millisecond brought new calculations, new defensive strategies that the aliens couldn't predict. The battlefield transformed into a dance of technological innovation. Alien tanks found their energy weapons becoming less effective. Where they expected complete destruction, they encountered resistance. The human tanks moved with an organic fluidity that contradicted their mechanical nature. One by one, alien units began to fall, not through overwhelming firepower, but through intelligent adaptation. The ARU tanks weren't just defending, they were learning, evolving, and counterattacking in ways the aliens had never encountered. Major Kim understood this was more than a military engagement. This was a psychological warfare unlike any in human history. Each destroyed alien unit sent a message: humanity was not a defeated species. They were an adaptive, intelligent force capable of turning certain defeat into potential victory. The battlefield became a testament to human innovation. Tanks that changed color to match terrain, that could redirect energy weapons, that communicated with each other faster than the alien network could process. Traditional military strategy gave way to a new form of technological warfare. Hours passed, and the alien formation began to show signs of confusion. Their tactical algorithms, which had worked perfectly in previous engagements, were suddenly ineffective. The human tanks moved like living entities, predicting and countering every alien strategy. By sunset, the North American plains told a different story. 12 human tanks stood victorious against what was previously considered an unbeatable alien force. Smoke rose from destroyed alien units, a visual representation of humanity's first significant counteroffensive. Communication channels erupted with excitement. Military bases around the world watched the satellite feeds in disbelief. The seemingly invincible alien invasion force had encountered something they didn't understand: human adaptability. Major Kim knew this was just the beginning. One successful engagement didn't mean total victory, but it meant something crucial. Humanity had proven it could fight back. The psychological impact would be enormous. As darkness fell, the ARU tanks maintained their defensive positions. Their surfaces continued to shift and adapt, quantum processors continuously analyzing potential future scenarios. They were no longer just machines. They were the first wave of humanity's technological resistance. The counteroffensive had begun, and the aliens were about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon was its ability to learn, adapt, and overcome. The alien commander watched the battlefield recordings with growing concern. Something fundamental had changed in human behavior. Where previous encounters showed panic and destruction, now there was calculated resistance. Major Kim understood psychological warfare better than traditional military strategies. Each engagement was not just about destroying enemy units, but breaking their computational confidence. The ARU tanks were more than weapons. They were living messages of human resilience. Intelligence reports showed increasing disruption in alien communication networks. Their strategic algorithms, which had predicted human responses with near-perfect accuracy, now encountered unexpected variations. Humans were no longer following predictable patterns. The next series of engagements became complex psychological operations. Human tank units would deliberately allow alien units to detect them, then use quantum adaptive technologies to completely vanish or transform their signatures. It was a game of technological hide-and-seek that frustrated alien computational models. In Europe, 3 ARU tank squadrons demonstrated unprecedented tactical creativity. They would create holographic duplicates, redirect energy signatures, and essentially trick alien targeting systems. Each successful deception chipped away at the alien command's understanding of human capabilities. Jae-sung's communication research team discovered something extraordinary. Alien computational systems operated on absolute logical principles. They couldn't comprehend intentional, illogical human strategies. Where a machine would always choose the most efficient path, humans would sometimes choose unpredictable routes. Major Kim developed what military analysts later called psychological disruption protocols. These weren't just military strategies, but calculated attempts to introduce uncertainty into alien decision-making processes. Every engagement became a psychological experiment. The alien forces began experiencing something unprecedented: computational stress. Their systems were designed to predict and neutralize threats with mathematical precision. But human adaptability introduced variables they couldn't calculate. Tank squadrons would intentionally expose vulnerabilities, only to suddenly counterattack from unexpected angles. They would communicate using randomized quantum encryption that made their tactical communications impossible to decode. Each action was designed to introduce maximum uncertainty. Satellite imagery showed something remarkable. Alien landing zones, previously marked by systematic precision, now showed signs of hesitation. Their massive invasion machines began moving, more cautiously, constantly recalculating potential human responses. Kim understood that psychological warfare wasn't about destruction. It was about introducing doubt, and doubt for a computationally driven species was more destructive than any weapon. The human tank units became legendary. Stories spread through remaining communication networks about units that could vanish, units that could transform, units that seemed to think and adapt like living organisms. These stories became weapons themselves, spreading fear and uncertainty. Alien command structures began experiencing what human psychologists would call tactical paralysis. Their perfectly designed invasion algorithms encountered something they couldn't process: human unpredictability. In critical engagement zones, ARU tanks would sometimes deliberately allow themselves to be detected, only to completely disappear moments later. Other times they would use advanced holographic technologies to appear in multiple locations simultaneously. Each action was designed to break alien computational confidence. The psychological impact became more significant than physical destruction. Alien units started showing signs of computational hesitation. Their previously precise movements became uncertain. They were no longer executing an invasion. They were trying to survive unexpected human strategies. Major Kim knew they were writing a new chapter in warfare. This wasn't about traditional military engagement. This was about challenging an entire species' understanding of conflict, strategy, and adaptation. As weeks passed, the alien invasion force found itself increasingly uncertain. Human resistance wasn't just physical, it was a complete reimagining of technological and psychological warfare. The battlefield had transformed, and humanity had discovered its most powerful weapon, the ability to be wonderfully, magnificently unpredictable. The alien mothership loomed like a massive metallic nightmare against the pre-dawn sky. 7 ARU tanks, the last functional units of humanity's defense force, moved across the barren landscape with a precision that defied traditional understanding of military movement. Major Kim Hyun-ki knew this was humanity's final chance. Months of technological adaptation, psychological warfare, and relentless innovation had led to this moment. Their entire strategy balanced on a razor's edge of possibility and total extinction. The alien ground defenses seemed impenetrable. Massive, energy barriers surrounded the mothership's landing zone, creating a protective shield that had previously obliterated entire military divisions. But these 7 tanks were no ordinary machines. They were the culmination of human innovation, quantum computing, and an unbreakable spirit of survival. Jae-sung's communication systems worked overtime, sending rapid quantum-encrypted signals that danced between confusion and clarity. The ARU tanks moved like living organisms, their molecular structures shifting and adapting with each meter of approach. Alien defensive systems began tracking the incoming tanks. But something was different this time. Where previous engagements showed predictable human movement, these tanks seemed to exist in multiple potential states simultaneously. They would appear, disappear, and reappear in locations that defied computational prediction. The first wave of alien energy weapons fired, massive pulse attacks designed to obliterate anything in their path. But the ARU tanks didn't just defend. They absorbed, redirected, and transformed the incoming energy. Each attack made them stronger, more adaptive. Kim's voice remained calm over the communication channel. Adaptive units, prepare final protocol. Target is the mothership's central, computational core. The tank's surfaces began to shimmer, molecular structures realigning in ways that challenged the very understanding of physics and technology. Alien commanders watched in growing confusion. Their perfect invasion algorithm encountered something they couldn't process. A force that didn't follow any known rules of engagement. The human tanks moved with an intelligence that seemed almost organic, almost alive. 3 tanks deliberately exposed themselves, drawing alien defensive fire. The other 4 used this moment to identify and exploit microscopic vulnerabilities in the alien defensive systems. It was a dance of technological warfare that humans had perfected over months of desperate survival. The mothership's ground defenses began to falter. Small ruptures appeared in their seemingly impenetrable energy shields. Each rupture was a testament to human innovation, to the ability to find hope in the most desperate moments. Massive explosions erupted around the alien landing zone. But these weren't traditional explosions. They were calculated disruptions of alien computational systems, introducing chaos into their perfectly designed invasion strategy. Major Kim watched as the final approach began. The 7 tanks moved as a single intelligent unit. They were no longer just machines. They were the embodiment of human resistance, human innovation, human survival. The mothership's central computational core became visible. Alien commanders realized too late that they had been systematically outmaneuvered. Humanity had transformed from a species of victims to a force of technological adaptation. In the final moments, the ARU tanks performed a maneuver that would become legendary. They synchronized their quantum processors, creating a computational wave that broke through the aliens' most advanced defensive systems. The mothership began to collapse from within, not through massive destruction, but through a complete disruption of its computational infrastructure. It was a victory achieved through intelligence, adaptation, and an unbreakable human spirit. As dawn broke, 7 tanks stood among the ruins of the alien mothership. They had done what no one believed possible. They had saved humanity. Major Kim understood this was more than a military victory. This was a statement about the human capacity to survive, to adapt, to overcome. The 6th day, war had ended. Humanity had won.